Welcome back once again, folks. I just got done making a video about bottling honey, and while I was out here, I figured I'd make another video on moisture control and how I deal with moisture in the wintertime. Given the time of year, this video is probably pretty appropriate. Um, so I've been hearing a lot of people, and I always hear this. I'm even in a group, a Facebook group for Virginia beekeepers. And there's people already talking about, hey, what does everybody do for winterizing their hives? Like, how do you insulate and how do you make your quilt boxes? I'm in New Jersey, Northeast, really some pretty rough winters. It's maybe not as rough as Vermont or way out west or in Canada, but we do get pretty cold nights. We go down to negative double digits sometimes. We get crazy wind. And I will tell you, I have never insulated a hive. I've never used a quilt box. Bees just they don't freeze to death. They can handle that. They adapt really well. They generate their own heat and they can survive that cold. If you suspect your bees died out because of the cold, there was probably some other underlying issue that just made them not be able to survive the cold. They were probably compromised someplace else, maybe virus loads, maybe the just too small of a cluster. So that brings us up to the moisture control, because moisture is what will kill your colony. And your beehives are always going to be producing moisture and lots of it, believe it or not. We're talking over the course of a winter. Somebody calculated it could be like gallons, because any degree over the outside temperature is going to produce condensation on the inside of your hive. And you may or may not know, those bees actually warm the cluster up to 80 something degrees. And although they're warming the cluster and not the hive, some of that heat does escape that cluster and it's going to rise straight up to the bottom of your inner cover. And all that water is going to gather there and it's going to just start dripping back down on your bees. And that will kill your bees. So the way I combat that is with Homasote covers. Homasote is a material that this isn't specific for beekeeping. It comes in 4x8 sheets in lumber yards, Lowe's, Home Depot. I believe the intended purpose is for sound control, like sound insulation and soundproofing. But beekeepers have adopted it, and you can even buy these at your bee supply companies. However, they're about $12, $12, $13, maybe $14. So that's pretty expensive. You got 20, 30 hives. That's a lot of money. So you're way better off buying the 4x8 sheet, cutting them down to the size of the dimensions of your hive and making your own. I will say, if you're going to cut this with a circular saw, do it outside, because it's really, really messy. It is just compressed paper. When you cut it, that's what it turns into, just like a pulpy mess. And your whole garage or your honey house, wherever you choose to do this, will just get covered in dusty paper. Do it outside. So the way it works is it works in conjunction with your inner cover. I don't know, some people may or may not know this, but typically people in the spring and summertime run their inner covers with this notch. You probably can't see that against my black shirt. There you go. That notch goes down where it looks like an N. So that is spring and summer configuration. In the wintertime, people run them like this. And that notch now looks like a U. So the way it works is you put your cover on your beehive, flipped over as normal, and then you put your Homasote board right there like that. And the way this works is all that moisture and air is coming up through this hole. And instead of like gathering up here, it's actually creating a vent, and it's going to draw that moisture through here, and it's going to soak your Homasote board. And that Homasote board is actually going to dry on its own because the edges are exposed to the air. They're just covered by the outer cover, but the air can get up under there and it dries this out and it pulls the moisture out. It really, really works. I used it on my second winter, and it was just amazing how much drier. I would check the bottom of the inner covers compared to the year past, and it was just so much drier. And I do like to keep twice as many of these, or close to it, as I have hives, because sometimes they will get so soaked and they just can't dry out and they can't handle the moisture as quick. And you can swap it out with a dry board. You can take that dry board home with you and put it in your honey house and let it dry out. And then you could rotate it in another trip to the yard if another board gets soaked. So that is how that works. If you have a really particularly damp winter and that moisture is really building up and you're getting so many weather fluctuations and that condensation is just really forming in those hives, you can do another step and you can take popsicle sticks and lay them flat, one on each edge, and then put your outer cover on top. It doesn't seem like a lot because that popsicle stick edge is probably smaller than a 16th of an inch. But if you add up the linear area of that little gap that it's creating, that's letting air get up and in here, and that may help draw that moisture out. There was 2 or 3 winters where I found my covers were getting particularly wet, and that's exactly what I did. I just put some popsicle sticks in there, prop that cover up a hair, and it seemed to help. So it doesn't hurt, I'll tell you that much. So that's it for Homasote boards and moisture control. If you have any questions about it, please leave me a comment. I'll get there. I'll get to your question, like I said before, well within 24 hours. I'm pretty active and I check all my comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.